think we believe in things out of fear. You know, it's like fighting in combat. When I first started fighting, I remember this one person I used to stand in front of, and he used to tear me up. And then there was this time when some years went by, and I met this person again. And it was just this really, really great battle. And this person fought a lot of other people. It comes to me after this match that we had, like 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was probably, to this day, one of the best combat fights I ever had, you know. And it was full out, full tilt. And then we got done, and we sat down, and we were drinking tea. He says, you know, I never fought like that before. Anybody, all these fights that I had. He says, what are you doing different? And I said, I'm fighting through my fear. So basically, you know, over the years when I left, I started contemplating what fear was, or what that means, you know. And you know, when you're standing in front of somebody, you kind of lose everything. Like you can have, one of the amazing things about martial arts, you can have all these problems in your life, all of these things happening, but when you're standing in front of somebody, that kind of disappears. But you know, your heart's pounding, your adrenaline's racing, you know, all of these things are happening. But you're not thinking about anything else except what's in front of you, you know. And then it started dealing with some of the experiences I had in real life violence. Well, the violence I had in the ring, well, not ring or wherever it was much more difficult than anything you faced on the street, you know. And it was through, instead of taking the fear and bringing it in, at the phase that I was at, I would take that and I would bring it out. So I would attack through it, which is the same reason I think a lot of people at the same time, you know, will blow themselves up, or will crash their plane to a building, or will do these things, or even go into war. You know, we may not realize we're doing it, but I was at a point where I was realizing that instead of taking it and letting it cripple me, I took it and I just expressed it outwardly. And it happened fairly young in my life, you know, in different levels, until I was really confronted with some type of physical combat that I was able to express it differently. And then I started seeing how that tethered to my spiritual beliefs, you know, and the human side of it. Like we think consciousness, you know, we look at consciousness as being the voice of God, but to me, that's just the brain that's evolved to a point. And why has it evolved, though? Why do we have consciousness? It's there for a reason. But right away, we have to attach something more to it. And where, you know, a lot of religions and a lot of cultures attach things to consciousness being, well, that's spirit. No, that's evolution. That's our mind that's evolved, but it's there for a reason. To help us understand, to act as an antenna to the things that we really can't see, or we really aren't in touch with, to help us get better in touch with who and what we are. You know, to know that we have a beginning, that we have an ending. You know, and we have these temples, these building blocks within our temple that teach us. Like, it's definitely a difference when you think from your heart as opposed to thinking from your brain, you know, because your heart has more into it. You know, if you had to wrap up what the world really needs, if we wanted to truly change the world, the one word that you would need would be what? You know the answer to that one, right? Compassion. When you talk about love, love is just too complicated. But when you talk about compassion, there's a form of love that everybody can understand. You know? So could you imagine if we lived in a world that had compassion for everyone?
When you say compassion, do you mean saying, like, I can understand where you're coming from, basically, and not judge you for it? Or what do you mean?
I would think it goes beyond judging, yeah. You know, compassion would mean in anything. Like, if we had compassion, would there be an oil spill right now? Or would the people that were drilling for this oil have compassion for the ocean and the sea, and not be just thinking about the material aspects of it? You know, wouldn't they be better prepared before? Maybe we're not ready to drill this yet. Yes, I want to drill here. I want to go deeper. I want to do this, but we're just not ready yet, because we need to make sure that if we do this, that we're not going to destroy other things in the process. Mm-hmm. So they have compassion for the earth, compassion for their fellow human being, and all the effects that it's going to take. Not only all the effects, it's going to take also on business. You know, people that, you know, are fishermen, and the sushi market, which, you know, sushi and sake go very well together. You know, everything that's happening, and there's already mercury levels building up and everything getting more condensed, and it's going to be crazy. I mean, that's what you do, oceanography, you know what I'm talking about. But something as simple as that, you wouldn't be so apt to drill right away. You said, we got to make sure that we understand what's happening before we face maybe destroying things. Or
yeah, but isn't that like oversimplified? I mean, like, there's a ton of
course,
environmental regulation.
That's right, it can't be. We don't live in that type of world.
Like, I wouldn't say more compassion would be like an answer to changing anything.
Well, compassion, if we had a world of compassion in this world, no, James, you're right. Because we're not geared for it. We're not there. You know? People ask me, well, what's your version of heaven? My version of heaven would be where there would be no duality. That's a really big subject, you know? But when you talk about compassion here, then where would be the test as an individual? So people, you know, no matter, you know, the world's messed up, and it will always be messed up. But it's messed up to help you to understand. And what you do in the world is important. Like something you may do in your oceanography may bring attention to people, say, hey, we don't change this, we're going to destroy this culture that lives off of this fish, and possibly destroy, like in time, there's going to be not enough oxygen in the ocean, and that's not going to be coming out into the air, whatever is going to be going on. And we either change our tune, or we're going to be walking around with oxygen masks if we don't change this stuff, you know? Whatever it may be, you know? So one person can make a difference, you know? Can make a difference in life. But,
like,
you know...
Al Gore.
Well, you look at it. You look at our society, is you have a person, you have a woman who is inside talking to a psychiatrist or psychologist, and she's going on about how miserable her life is. Meaning, she's paying this guy $1,000 an hour, right? She's going on about how miserable her life is, her husband cheats on her, her mom's picking on her, all this stuff. And I'm a psychiatrist, I look out my window, and I look out there, and there's this guy walking by, talking to himself, you know, doing all kinds of crazy things. So who needs to help more, right? But yet, when we're all out in the street, because we have nothing, no place to put them, nobody wants to help them, they just walk around on the street aimlessly, and there's a person that needs help. Or a person that may have many personalities, but only if you have the money to do that, you're helping these people. But yet we all know there's, you know, why is America dealing with so many homeless people? Right? Why are there people, like crazy people on the street? And we just ignore them because we can't do anything about them either. And you know, if you walk up to the guy and you gave him $300, that it's not going to do anything. Well, there's a person that really needs help. If I gave you $300, you're going to do something with it. Save it, you're going to go out and buy sake, you're going to do something with it. This person doesn't know what to do with it. I remember when I was on the streets, you know, these you know, so-called crazy people would pull out, there's one cop, I guess we'll wrap it up with this part. There's one cop I remember was with this guy, and I just gave this person $1. But I don't mind giving people dollars, you know, even if it's a con. It doesn't, it's a lot of work to con somebody, so here's $1, because it's great, because you're working really hard to do that. And there's a lot of cons out there. And I remember this one cop grabs this guy and pushes him against the wall, and I was there, and the cop knew me. He goes, why are you giving this guy $1? And he reaches into his pocket, and he pulls out this wad of money. And he says something, and he goes, I said, I don't want my $1. He goes, okay. And he takes $1. The cop takes $1, puts it back in his pocket, and puts the money back, and he says, that's $1 I gave you last week. Laughing about it. It was like a joke, you know, and the guy walks away, you know. Because then we left, and I said to him, I said, you know, he's walking around with all these ones or 20s or whatever it is, but why is he walking around with that? You know, he doesn't know what to do with it. Why does he have all this money? Well, he drinks. Well, what's he doing with all the money? It's just in his pocket. If you had that money, what'd you be doing with it? You'd be buying something and creating a bill, right? So here's this guy, has all this stuff, this person that really needs help, we'll say, that doesn't get any help. And that's our world.